What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. Today we're going to be giving you a start-sit fantasy preview for the game between the BattleHawks and the DC Defenders in Week 5. But hey, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button before we get started, which we'll be doing right now. Alright, as I said, we're breaking down the BattleHawks and Defenders in this game. A return to DC for the Defenders, and boy, do they need a home game. Their home-road splits have been, they're not even the same team right now on the road, but it's going to be very interesting to see if they can actually come back and compete in this game going against the surging BattleHawks, who have been absolutely dominant in this league. Now, like I said, this game is in DC, so Vegas is not as concerned that what we've seen in the last 2 weeks is what the Defenders truly are. Right now, this game is at an over-under of 39, still a little bit on the lower end. Wouldn't be surprised if this game hits the over, especially if DC can put together some drives here. But the BattleHawks are favored to win this one by 3.5 points on the road. Still really hard to put any confidence into the Defenders after their abysmal performances in the past 2 weeks. So if I had to pick a team here, I'd say the BattleHawks will cover. I think that they're going to end up winning this game. But hopefully, like I said, at this point, I would just be happy if the Defenders at least put up a decent performance in this game, showing us that they care about competing in this league, and then they can try to get back on their feet in the following week. So we'll see what happens. If the Defenders surprise, then this league will just show how important home field advantage actually is. But hey, you guys are here for fantasy analysis, so let's get to it by starting with the BattleHawks. All right, looking at Jordan Ta'amu, the Defenders have looked great against quarterbacks in week 1 and 2 at home, and they were absolutely terrible in weeks 3 and 4. This game is at home again, but Jordan Ta'amu has been on fire. We will see if the Defenders can actually put up a fight in this one, but even if they do, I still think that Ta'amu is a great start, especially considering his ability to mop up yards on the ground, and he's been pressing the issue and going deeper down the field, and he's been pretty accurate doing so. So Jordan Ta'amu will be a very strong start this week. Looking at the running backs, the Defenders have allowed the second most points to running backs and are the first team to allow 100 yards to any rusher, and they allowed 2 versus Tampa Bay last week, averaging about 27 points for fantasy to the running back position. Now, Matt Jones is still getting the majority of carries, but it's definitely become more of a committee between him and Michael. I do think this should be more of a bounce back week for Jones. But when we look here as well, Keith Ford has actually been averaging a greater yards per carry than both Jones and Michael. It's hard to endorse Ford yet just because he's still not getting the touches, but don't be surprised if he starts getting more looks that might end up spoiling Matt Jones or Christian Michael's week. If Matt Jones, who's still dealing with that knee injury, if he ends up being a surprise inactive, then I think that you could start both of these guys here. Both of them would be great value plays in DFS. But assuming they're all healthy, I'll still roll with Matt Jones one more time. On the wide receiver side, DC is allowing the third most points against opposing wide receiver ones and slot ones. This has been a strong defense elsewhere, but reading the tea leaves, of course you're going to start De'Mornay Pearson-El, who's looked absolutely fantastic on this team. But this should also be a good rebound week for LaDainian Washington, who's still looked good, just hasn't gotten nearly as many looks. Especially if this game is competitive, both should be great plays. Now, Brendan Riley has been getting more and more looks and has been looking good overall, but considering the amount of touches that he's been getting, he hasn't been on the field enough to force him into your lineups just yet. I think Alonzo Russell is on the way out right now, at least in terms of fantasy lineups as well. So I'm just going to wait to put him back into the lineup until we see a little bit more clarity on who the third option is here. Looking at the tight ends, it's important to note that the Vipers were able to exploit the Defenders in the red zone with DeAndre Goolsby last week, and Marcus Lucas has seen a healthy target share for the team. Was targeted in the red zone, at least as far as the conversion last week. So they're looking his way in high leverage situations. That makes him a really solid tight end option this week. And regardless of whether the Defenders show up this week, St. Louis has been playing great on defense, and the upside of a continued DC implosion can make them a really strong defensive play this week. All right, let's jump over to the defenders, and we'll begin by looking at Cardale Jones. Now, the defenders come limping back home after suffering back-to-back crushing defeats to winless teams on the road. So the question here is, can Cardale Jones actually get his confidence back? If he doesn't perform well this week, he might be screwed and he may be getting benched. The BattleHawks have been one of the best teams against the quarterback this season, so this matchup could not have come at a worse time for Cardale. I would say start him at your own risk, but watch him go off because I said that. That's just how the defenders have been playing. But I'm still going to advise that you try to find another option this week. Now, on the running back side, the BattleHawks are in the middling tier of teams against a running back. Jarrell Presley barely got any looks last week, and Nick Brissett looked pretty bad as well. Donnell Pumphrey is really the only guy that's been showing any type of consistent play there. He's been getting more touches each and every week and is involved in the passing game, so he has at least a decent floor. If the defenders can, score a dang point, then Donnell Pumphrey should be a pretty decent start. Looking at the wide receivers here, other than week 2 where Cam Phillips absolutely torched the BattleHawks, they have been incredibly strong against their opponent's number 1 option, have been pretty good all around against receivers. The question is now, who do they choose to defend more heavily between Ross or Rodgers? Now, Rodgers has the target share to be considered the number 1, but Ross is definitely more of your prototypical alpha receiver. It's really hard to trust any of these guys, but I'm going to throw one last flyer on Ross. I mean, we saw last week he was a decent pass from Cardale Jones away from scoring a near 80-yard touchdown, and going back home should hopefully give this offense a boost. Like I said, I'm going to place my chips on Ross one more time and endorse him over Rodgers, but this might be the last straw for any of these guys until we start to see some chemistry again between the quarterback and the receivers. On the tight end side, the BattleHawks are allowing 11 points on average to the tight end, which is one of the worst in the league. Bakari Lee has goosed us twice now, so it makes him really hard to trust. But this really all depends on how the defenders play this week. He does have big play touchdown upside. You just have to be willing to accept the fact that he could put up 0 again. All right, and then looking at the defense here, DC at home has been the best fantasy option, bar none. But those games were versus Brandon Silvers and Matt McGloin. So I'm really not excited about them going against Jordan Teamu here at all. Definitely try to find another option. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. It does mean a lot to me. And if you want to show your support, you can do 2 things. Check out my website, fantasyaddictionnetwork.com. Make a free account there. You can access to my rankings, my DFS plays, stats, sortable stats, consistency charts, everything you need to be able to dominate in the fantasy sphere. And hit that subscribe and like button. That really helps us out a lot. We're trying to grow our channel pretty big before the NFL season comes, and it really helps to have those numbers and have people that support me. So I thank you so much for watching this video. Please reach out in the comment section if there's anything else that you think that we could be doing to help you guys do better in fantasy in the XFL, and we'll see you in the next video.